Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're going to dive into the world of, well, a true modern titan, Jeff Bezos. And it looks like you guys sent us a ton of material on him.
Yeah,
Really interested in getting a clearer picture of his biggest accomplishments.
that's right.
Yeah, focusing on his education, career, and ventures beyond Amazon.
Right.
So buckle up. We're going to sift through all of this info
Let's do it.
and try to extract the most fascinating nuggets about what Bezos has actually done.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting when you think about someone like Bezos, you might picture, this background of privilege.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But his early life was surprisingly humble.
Born to a teenage mom,
Yeah.
raised by a stepfather, worked at McDonald's in high school.
Exactly.
Not exactly the typical image of a billionaire CEO.
Right.
Oh.
It really goes to show you that success can come from unexpected places.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating is that even in those early years, you can already see the ambition. Yeah.
The drive that would kind of define him later on.
Absolutely.
National merit scholar, a science whiz.
Didn't he even talk about space colonization in his high school graduation speech?
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah, in his speech, he talked about building space hotels and colonies for 2 million people orbiting Earth.
Wow.
Can you imagine that?
That's wild.
I mean, the seeds were planted early.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just teenage fantasy. I mean, it seems like he always had this kind of grand vision.
Okay, so he clearly had big dreams.
Hmm.
How did he go from, flipping burgers to becoming one of the most influential figures in tech?
Yeah.
Did he always have a clear path in mind?
Well, after high school, he went to Princeton,
Okay.
graduated with degrees in electrical engineering on computer science.
So that's straight to Silicon Valley, right?
You'd think.
Yeah.
But it wasn't so straightforward.
Really? What happened?
There's this interesting story that he actually originally wanted to be a theoretical physicist.
What?
Seriously. But apparently he was challenged by a particularly tough math problem.
And a classmate of his solved it.
Really?
Yeah, and it really humbled him, and it made him kind of reconsider his path.
Wow. Even Bezos had setbacks.
It's true.
I mean, that makes him seem a little more human, right? Like any of us could have been him.
Exactly. It shows that even the most successful people face challenges and have to adapt.
Yeah.
And that Wall Street period after Princeton,
Okay.
at Fattel Bankers Trust, then D.E. Shaw,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't just a detour.
Yeah.
He was honing his financial and analytical skills there, gaining valuable experience in high-pressure environments. Think of it like training for the big league.
Oh, for sure. He was learning to make decisions, assess risks, and think strategically
Yeah.
in a very demanding world. That must have been crucial for what he went on to do.
Absolutely crucial. It was all part of the journey building towards something bigger.
Right. And of course, that something bigger turned out to be Amazon.
Right.
Starting as an online bookstore in a rented garage. I mean, it's almost a classic tale now, right?
Yeah.
It is. But it's easy to forget just how radical his vision was back then.
Yeah.
This was 1994. He
Yeah.
wasn't just selling books online.
Right.
He was betting on the entire internet.
Oh, wow.
He saw the potential of e-commerce years before it became mainstream.
Yeah.
And that took real foresight.
It seems like he was driven by this intense belief in the power of technology to change the world. And it paid off in a big way.
Oh, yeah.
From books to music video, then to practically every consumer product you can imagine.
True.
It's like he willed Amazon to become the everything store.
Yeah. And let's not
Yeah.
forget AWS,
AWS.
Amazon Web Services,
Okay.
the cloud computing arm of Amazon.
That seems kind of technical. Can you break that down for us a little?
Sure.
bit?
In very simple terms, cloud computing is like renting computing power and storage space instead of owning and managing your own servers.
Okay, so it's like outsourcing your IT infrastructure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Bezos saw the potential of this very early on, even before cloud computing was a buzzword. And it's become a massive part of Amazon's success.
Yeah.
Quietly powering countless websites and applications we use every day.
That's pretty mind-blowing. He was innovating on multiple levels at once.
Yeah, he was.
But speaking of big ideas and long-term bets, didn't he have another passion project up his sleeve?
He did.
Something about space.
Remember that high school graduation speech?
Yeah.
That early dream of space colonization? Wasn't just a fleeting thought.
Right.
In 2000, he founded Blue Origin, a
Oh.
space exploration company fueled by his lifelong fascination with space travel.
Okay, so this wasn't just some vanity project for a billionaire.
No, not at all.
Okay.
For years, Blue Origin operated quietly under the radar, developing technology, acquiring land for a launch site. Bezos was playing the long game, investing heavily and methodically, working towards this vision of making space travel accessible and safe,
Wow.
with the ultimate goal of, colonizing the solar system.
So he wants to make space travel routine, like hopping on a plane.
That's the idea. And remember that pivotal moment in 2015?
Yeah.
When Blue Origin's New Shepard rocket achieved spaceflight?
Oh, yeah.
And then successfully landed back on Earth?
That was a big deal, right?
Huge. It was a major breakthrough for reusable rocket technology.
Right.
A crucial step towards making space travel more affordable and sustainable.
Okay.
And for Bezos, it was a major validation of his vision.
Okay, so we've got Amazon, we've got Blue Origin,
Right.
launching a space exploration company. It seems like his ambition didn't stop there.
It didn't.
What else did he pursue?
Well, in 2013, he surprised everyone by buying a struggling newspaper,
Oh, really?
the Washington Post.
Okay.
It was a $250 million investment, but it wasn't driven by profit, at least not initially. He talked about civic responsibility, about safeguarding a vital institution in need of modernization.
It's interesting that he chose to invest in a legacy media company
Yeah.
instead of pouring more money into the tech world.
Right.
What do you think was behind that decision?
It seems like he saw the Post as this crucial part of a functioning democracy,
Okay.
a platform for important journalism in a rapidly changing media landscape.
Yeah.
And you have to admit, under his ownership,
Right.
the Post saw its online readership surge and even became profitable again.
So he applied his business acumen to revitalize a struggling institution.
Exactly. It's another example of his willingness to think long-term
Right.
and invest in areas that he believes have a broader impact beyond just profits.
Okay, so we've got Amazon Blue Origin,
Yeah.
the Washington Post.
Yeah,
This is already a pretty impressive list,
it is.
but it looks like there's even more to cover.
Yeah.
What other ventures did he get involved in?
Well, through Bezos Expeditions, his venture capital arm,
Okay.
he's backed everything from Google.
Right.
He was an early investor there.
Wow.
To life extension research. It seems like he's always looking for what's next.
Right.
What could potentially change the world.
It's almost like he has this restless energy that needs to be constantly channeled into new projects and ideas. What do you think drives that kind of ambition? Is it just about building a legacy? Or is there something deeper there?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And one we should definitely explore further as we dive deeper into the world of Jeff Bezos.
Okay, so let's keep going then.
Let's do it.
It's amazing to see how Bezos went from these humble beginnings to building such a vast and influential empire. You have to wonder, what are the secrets to his success? Is there something unique about his approach to leadership and decision-making?
Well, one thing that really stands out is his day one philosophy.
Day one.
Yeah, he constantly talks about the importance of operating with the same sense of urgency and hunger for innovation as Amazon did on its very first day.
So it's all about staying nimble and avoiding complacency,
Exactly.
even after achieving massive success.
Even after achieving massive success, Bezos believes that the moment a company thinks it's made it, it starts to stagnate.
Right.
He wants Amazon to constantly evolve and put boundaries.
That's pretty interesting. So he's not afraid of taking risks or disrupting the status quo.
Not at all. In fact, he has this specific framework for decision-making
Okay.
called the regret minimization framework.
Regret minimization framework.
Yeah, it's all about making choices that you'll be least likely to regret later in life.
I like that.
Yeah.
Can you give us an example of how he's used that framework?
Sure. Think about his decision to leave his secure Wall Street job to start Amazon.
Yeah.
He knew it was a huge gamble,
Right.
but he figured he'd regret missing out on the internet revolution far more than he'd regret leaving Wall Street behind.
So he focuses on the potential long-term regrets rather than the immediate risks.
Precisely. And it really highlights his long-term thinking. He's not just focused on short-term gains.
Right.
He's playing a much bigger game.
It seems like this long-term thinking is a recurring theme in his career. But what about the day-to-day operations?
Yeah.
How does he actually lead and manage his teams?
Well, Bezos is known for being intensely data-driven. He believes in making decisions based on meticulous analysis and hard numbers. It's a very analytical and metrics-oriented approach.
But doesn't that make for a pretty impersonal work environment?
It can. And in fact, there have been criticisms of Amazon's workplace culture, especially in its warehouses,
Right.
for being too focused on efficiency and metrics at the expense of worker well-being.
That's a valid point.
Yeah.
It seems like there's a potential downside to this relentless focus on data and optimization.
There is. And it's important to acknowledge those concerns.
Yep.
But on the other hand, you can't deny the results.
Right.
Bezos's data-driven approach, combined with his willingness to take calculated risks, has led to incredible innovation and disruption across multiple industries.
So there's a tension between the incredible success and the potential human cost.
Absolutely. And it's a tension that Bezos himself has had to grapple with.
Yeah.
Remember, he did raise the minimum wage for Amazon workers to $15 an hour in 2018.
Yeah, I remember that.
And he's spoken publicly about the need for companies to consider the well-being of their employees. It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
It is. But it's interesting to see how this tension plays out in his leadership style. It's like he's constantly trying to balance these competing forces.
Right.
The drive for efficiency and innovation versus the need for ethical considerations and employee well-being.
Right. And it's a balance that many leaders struggle with, especially in today's fast-paced and ever-changing business landscape.
Okay, so we've talked about his long-term vision, his data-driven approach, and the ethical considerations of his leadership style. What else stands out to you about Bezos's journey?
Well, I find the contrast between his early reputation for frugality and his more recent embrace of extravagance quite fascinating.
You mean back when he was driving that Honda Accord?
Exactly.
Even after becoming a billionaire. I remember reading about that.
That was classic Bezos.
Yeah.
In the 90s and early 2000s, obsessively focused on cost-cutting, reinvesting profits back into the company, even building his own desk out of a door.
Really?
Yeah, it was all about efficiency and avoiding unnecessary expenses. Wow. But then in the last decade or so, we've seen a different side of him.
Yeah, like what?
Building super yachts, buying lavish properties, even taking joyrides into space.
It's a shift that's definitely raised some eyebrows.
It has.
Especially since he hasn't been as publicly philanthropic as other billionaires.
Right.
He hasn't signed the Giving Pledge, for example, where the super rich commit to giving away most of their wealth.
Yeah.
So is it just a case of a billionaire enjoying his wealth, or is there something more to it?
Well, in recent years, he has started to ramp up his philanthropic efforts.
Okay, like what?
He's committed billions to the Bezos Earth Fund focused on climate change.
Okay.
And the Day One Fund, which supports early childhood education and addresses homelessness.
So it seems like he's trying to find a balance between pursuing his personal interests and giving back to society.
It does. And it's worth noting that his chosen areas of philanthropy align with his long-term thinking, climate change, education, homelessness. These are all issues with massive societal impact that require long-term solutions.
It'll be interesting to see how his philanthropic initiatives evolve.
Yeah.
And what kind of impact they'll have. But you're right, it's definitely a different image from the frugal, data-driven CEO of the early Amazon days.
It is, and it makes you wonder what motivates someone like Bezos. What drives him to constantly push boundaries and explore new frontiers, whether it's in business space exploration or philanthropy?
That's a question we'll continue to explore as we delve deeper into the achievements of Jeff Bezos. It's really striking how Bezos seems to be driven by this insatiable curiosity, always looking for the next challenge.
Yeah, it's almost like he needs to constantly be pushing the boundaries of what's possible, whether it's in business technology or even space exploration.
Speaking of space exploration, I want to circle back to that because it seems like more than just a hobby for him.
It's definitely more than a hobby. It's a lifelong passion that goes back to his childhood. He's talked about it since he was a teenager, and it's clear that he truly believes humanity's future lies beyond Earth.
And he's not just talking about short trips to space or sending a few tourists up there.
Nah.
He's talking about colonizing the solar system.
Yeah.
Making space travel routine and affordable.
Exactly. That's right. He wants to create a future where people can live and work in space, just like we do on Earth.
Wow.
It sounds like science fiction, but he's actually taking concrete steps to make it happen.
It does sound like sci-fi.
Right.
Remember that quote from his high school graduation speech?
Oh, yeah?
Where he talked about turning Earth into a giant national park and having people live throughout the solar system? It's incredible to think that he's still pursuing that vision decades later.
It really is. It's a testament to his long-term thinking and his unwavering belief in the power of technology to solve big problems. You know, he sees space as a solution to Earth's resource constraints, a way to ensure humanity's survival in the long run.
That's a grand vision, no doubt.
Yeah.
But it also raises some questions, doesn't it?
Of course.
Like, who gets to decide how this spacefaring future unfolds? What are the ethical considerations of expanding humanity's footprint beyond Earth?
Yeah, those are really important questions. And They're questions that we as a society need to start grappling with now as these technologies become more advanced and these possibilities become more real.
Yeah, it's a lot to think about.
Yeah.
But I guess that's the point, isn't it? Bezos's achievements, they force us to confront these big existential questions about the future of humanity and our place in the universe.
Exactly. And it's not just about space travel. It's about everything he's involved in. His influence on e-commerce, the way he's reshaping the media landscape with the Washington Post, his growing impact on philanthropy. He's a catalyst for change, whether we like it or not.
He's definitely a complex figure, a visionary and a disruptor, someone who inspires both admiration and concern. It's hard to put him in a neat little box.
I think that's what makes him so fascinating. He challenges us to think critically about the world we're creating, the role of technology in our lives, and the impact of ambitious individuals on society as a whole.
So what's the takeaway for our listener? What have we learned from diving deep into the world of Jeff Bezos?
Well, I think the key takeaway is this. Bezos's achievements are a reflection of our times.
Right.
They highlight the incredible power of technology to shape the world, the potential for both good and bad, and the responsibility we all have to engage with these changes thoughtfully and critically.
It's a reminder that the future is not predetermined. It's something we're actively creating
Right.
through our choices, our actions, and the technologies we embrace.
That's a powerful and perhaps even a little daunting thought, isn't it?
Yes.
To realize that we have the potential to shape the future, not just for ourselves, but for generations to come.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive into the achievements of Jeff Bezos. We've covered a lot of ground, but as always, there's so much more to explore.
Yeah, I have a feeling Bezos will keep us all busy trying to keep up with him for quite some time.
So to our listener out there, keep digging, keep questioning, and keep exploring. The future, as Jeff Bezos has shown us, is anything but predictable.
And that's what makes it so exciting.
Until next time, happy diving.